Hello and welcome to the Team 23 session on DevOps automation for administrating Jira and JSM. Today we'll be talking to you about something that we are quite proud of. And in lead in, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Vijay Byndoor. Vijay?
Thank you, Mario. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Team 23. My name is Vijay Byndoor. I'm a principal architect at T-Mobile. I've been passionate about automation, DevOps, and more recently, in my last 3 to 4 years, about Atlassian toolsets and the Atlassian stack. We've been trying to put together all our Atlassian toolsets and how we can automate them, put DevOps automations around them. We're glad that we have this opportunity to present this to you.
Thank you. I'm Mario Vaccari. I work at Cprime. I've been working in software development and IT for over 20 years, spanning the roles from developer to QA and product and project management, IT manager. So when I work with customers, I have a intimate relation with the challenges that they face, and I can appreciate the business needs and the technical needs as well. As a partner, I can build Atlassian solutions using Jira and Confluence and the other tools, and I found it a very enabling platform. This session is telling that story. So a little bit about us. Vijay and I met at T-Mobile. I as a consultant, Vijay as principal architect. 4 years ago, we started a transformation to bring Jira and planning tools and quality assurance tools to bear. What we saw in the process was a huge change in the organization and a wide adoption. With an organization that has over 30,000 users in Jira, we identified numerous needs. They started coming to us asking for things. We had a huge infrastructure to support a distributed system, various applications and integrations. In building this success, we also found some weaknesses. We found that maintaining and deploying change on a regular cadence to meet this appetite of the business was no small effort. So again, we had a large implementation, 30,000 users, thousands of projects. We were centrally managing it. So we didn't just hand out an administrator role to everybody and say goodbye. They would have to come through our product team to prioritize and identify exactly when and what to pass into our agile teams. There were customizations that were required for the integrations that we had with both planning and testing tools. There were customizations that we wanted to enforce to ensure that certain KPIs would continue to be met from the business perspective, namely traceability. Right? We didn't want to see epics living without any connection to the origin. Right? So that was no small feat. We needed to use customizations like scripting and add-ons to bring that to bear. We had an infrastructure that was living in the cloud, hosted by Cprime as a service. We had multiple applications with Jira, Confluence. We actually host Jira Service Desk in a separate instance. We had needs from our development teams to take advantage of the modern tools, right? They wanted to use CI/CD approaches as they had in other orgs, but to manage Jira changes, right? Then that was a little bit of a twist. Again, CI/CD was there as a solution that would help us deliver quality results to our businesses faster. And then finally, we had teams that wanted to explore and experiment. So we needed to stand up sandboxes for them. We needed to maintain development environments that allowed multiple Scrum teams to develop code in harmony. So we had a dynamic solution that was serving a lot of teams. It was delivering on the KPIs, but we started to identify some issues that need to be addressed. We had a tightly integrated set of tools servicing many similar, the same needs. We were a singular set of schemas to manage our projects. Our deploys started to take a little longer than necessary. We would stay on for hours. We would have to have multiple teams involved. We were starting to run into situations where the code that was being deployed to production or the configuration didn't operate the same way, right? And that required hot fixes on the phone, a lot of people on the line with a team that was distributed globally even. So we needed to identify why we were struggling. So when we look at our payloads, we looked at what we were pushing. We had code in the form of Power Scripts and JavaScript that we were pushing into the back end. We were managing it in GitLab. That was fairly straightforward. Then you had instructions that would involve configuration on the UI side. We would prefer a configuration manager for Jira package to push it forward, but that wasn't always possible. We also had T-Mobile custom developed dashboard gadgets, so jar files had to be moved. Our data center infrastructure was high availability. We had multiple non-prod environments because we would go from a dev environment to a staging to a training as our pre-prod and then production. On the side, we'd have a sandbox environment. So managing 5, in just the case of our Jira instance, 5 instances was a bear in itself. You can imagine what it would be like to do a LTS upgrade like we had each year, or violations that would come through from security that we have to patch immediately. We have to do it in 5s. And that's just for one product. Our quality expectations were high. We had to ensure our KPIs continued to stay in line with the expectations from the business. We had automation suites and smoke tests that had to be run to ensure that post-deployment we didn't break something, right? We don't want our customers to find problems. All those while, we had to make sure that our code was good, right? So in our check-ins, we had integrations with code evaluation tools to help identify concerns with the way the code was written, or whether or not perhaps secrets were being exposed in the password in the code with hard-coded passwords. So our DevSecOps group was keeping an eye on this. So all of these needs had to continue to be met while solving for them. So what did we do? We looked at the tools we had. We say, well, they are super powerful. They're modern solutions in Jira and GitLab in our SaaS solution for our hosting. Vijay, I, and the team began to embark on a path to remediate this. So I'll hand it off to Vijay, and he can start to talk about solution.
Thank you, Mario. Before I get into what the architecture for the tech stack was and how we solve these problems, I wanted to quickly retrace your memory what and why we had to do this, right? Because of the scale of our operations and the complexity and the number of users and departments needing this, it was not possible for us to actually manually go in and do these changes per department, per team, and even roll it out at a quick fashion, right? So that's a key thing you have to keep in mind. Of course, Jira was the core center of our work management. We use GitLab for version control for CI/CD pipelines. GitLab was chosen because we had tightly worked with the GitLab team. We had our own GitLab development team in-house. We were able to push new templates and new artifacts within GitLab, which is not available right out of the box. From an asset management perspective, it's also key for us to understand when a large organization is using different parts of the Atlassian stack, and they're having multiple projects, thousands and thousands of different projects, which projects tie back to which kind of asset, which ones have dependencies. We wanted to track those dependencies. We want to see how those applications, those products, and those projects are being deployed, being updated, how much of work is done in each one of them. That's why it was critical for us to look into asset management and tie that together. And as Mario mentioned, quality and security, I mean, that's the bane for all of us. We have to look at quality and security in every single step. So we looked at Fortify, we looked at Git Guardian and Sonar primarily. Fortify for security scanning, static security scanning, Git Guardian for secret scanning, and Sonar for code quality. I'll dwell into a little bit into each of this as we progress through some of the slides. The next aspect is test automation itself, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are aware of this. Any system that you're building, you're changing, and you're constantly changing, it's no longer possible to test it manually. You would want to build some kind of test automation that can go hand in hand with how you're developing and how you're deploying items. So you can test it and you can validate that whatever you changed has not impacted everything else in production. Another important piece here is infrastructure as code pipelines. Because of the scale of things, we had to use Terraform and Ansible to provision servers and Atlassian data center servers on AWS. We also use this to get machine images and put that on Docker so we could provide ephemeral environments, on-demand environments for teams. There are a few other aspects in this about security, like vulnerability scanning, where we use Wazoo for log aggregation. We had the Elastic Stack, and I'll go into more detail about how this platform works, especially on the monitoring side, where we use the Elastic real-time user monitoring. So that's the tech stack, and that's how these pieces were tied together. We'll give you a quick walkthrough of some of these pieces. We'll show you how a Jira Atlassian payload will flow through a CI/CD pipeline in GitLab, covering some of those security and automated testing stages. This will give you an idea about what you can accomplish. Before I start into the demo, I do want to mention another note. You have to realize that a lot of people are doing CI/CD and automated deployments. The key factor here is we are able to make changes to Atlassian payloads, Jira workflows, Jira UI, SIL code, scripting, etc., and move that into the CI/CD pipeline and deliver that to our customers at the same speed. So everything is code, including the Atlassian payloads.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Vijay. Just because you manage Jira platform, does that mean you can't benefit from these same approaches? Change management is a important aspect of whatever we do. And these solutions that automate the flow not only make us more effective and efficient, but it reduces our risk of that long deploy or the, who made this change or the digging in the audit trail.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll walk you through a quick demo.
I will start with a Jira SIL code that alters the behavior of some Jira UI. More specifically, I'll make a quick change here and commit the code. As you can see, once the code is committed, this will automatically kickstart the pipeline. The key aspects to showcase here are the different stages of the pipeline. You can see the first stage of the pipeline has started off, and this showcases how we test against our asset management system, against the templates for standardization in the organization. The second stage showcases more security and testing aspects of the pipeline. Specifically, Fortify Scan is used for performing a static application security test. The Git Guardian step is used to scan for secrets in the code. The Sonar scan is used for code quality analysis. Once this part is complete, the SIL programs are compiled and their published pages are created accordingly. The next step in the pipeline allows us to deploy to different environments. Once this deployment is complete, the next stage is a automated sanity testing stage. Here we have Tosca automated test cases that mimic a Jira workflow or a Jira behavior in the UI and will test for specific scenarios that we want to capture as business rules. Finally, this takes us to an end-to-end gating stage where we can add specific rules to gate this deployment. And as you can see, this step is progressing. And as we complete this, we will have a Jira specific change deployed to a environment of our choice. Getting back to a quick visual of how this looks like. What we just showcased was a quick code change for a Jira SIL package that was merged into the release bench and then deployed through the GitLab artifact repo into a specific environment. Just like the SIL package, there are many other payloads in the Atlassian framework that you could use to deploy your changes, including UI changes that you make to your Jira or Jira service desk instances. These can be packaged as configuration manager packages, also called as CMJ packages, and the same package can be deployed using pipeline. Right? This shows you a clean way to use CI/CD pipelines for not just your code, but also for your Atlassian payloads and Jira JSM related changes. Thank you.
As you saw in the demo, we showed you a quick pipeline going through CI/CD in our GitLab environment. This image here is actually showing you how a similar pipeline would look like if you're pushing infrastructure. We'll show you some key architecture and design diagrams that will help you get the whole system in your mind. Infrastructure automation, like we mentioned in our tech stack, everything was based on AWS-based AMIs. We manage multiple environments using these. On top of that, we built application and service modules separately. All of this was provisioned through Terraform. Additionally, we were able to pull in and provision Docker machines whenever we wanted ephemeral environments. From an operating system and app configuration management level, we use Ansible to make sure we're always tied with patches and we're able not to allow configuration drift across these patches. And finally, all of this was tied into the Elastic platform, which will allow for log aggregation, monitoring, real-time user monitoring, and also vulnerability scanning. I'll go into the Elastic platform in a bit, and you will see how you can get a full-fledged solution with this. This is a flow diagram of what we just saw in the demo a few minutes ago. Just to give you an understanding of what this means, what you saw in the demo is how a specific piece of code, an Atlassian package or an Atlassian payload, which could be a UI change that you could package using Configuration Manager. It could be a SIL code or a PowerScript code that you package. It could also be custom Jira gadget development that you do that is compiled through Java into a jar file. Any of these code can be maintained in GitLab and can go through a branch and into your pipeline. And that's exactly what you saw where the pipeline triggered one of our code changes to the SIL program. And this pipeline would enable us to deploy to multiple environments. We could define which environments we wanted to push to. We could add approval flows to this pipelines, meaning if I'm going to production or maybe a higher level environment, we will look for approvals. We also have tied this to our change management system to check for a specific change management ticket. And only when it satisfied all these gating criteria, it would go in and deploy to that specific environment. And that's what you see here from an approval flow. We're looking at specific environments. We're looking at a change record, a change ticket approval, and we can define who gets to approve that.
Now, BJ, one thing to point out and highlight, underline, is that at this whole flow, we're always dealing with one asset. So when it gets merged, we don't just take a copy or clone the branch. We build an asset, store it in GitLab, and that's the only one that's identified for deployment. So what goes to staging will be the same thing that goes to training and the same thing that goes to production.
Yes, excellent point, Mario. This assures that we always have parity between our environments. What we have developed is what we have tested, and what we have tested is what we have deployed across our higher level environments. That kind of takes us to another piece. As I mentioned, the different payloads for Atlassian. There's another important payload for Atlassian that not a lot of consumers and customers are thinking about. Atlassian environments and tool sets give you a plethora of APIs and a lot of capability to do with what you can do with those APIs. Unfortunately, what's not available within that is a key piece of authorization and granular control of those APIs itself. So an innovative solution is we've taken these APIs, bundled them into the Apigee, Google Apigee API management platform. And this whole package and all the APIs are bundled into different proxies. You can see there are different design strategies here. There are different models of how you want to put your product and your proxies for especially the Apigee layers. All of this is for your Atlassian payloads. Of course, it's similar for even you have non-Atlassian payloads. But the key genius of this approach is how we have taken the Atlassian payloads and put it around Apigee, giving us more granular authorization and more security with the authentication mechanisms. All of this, including the Apigee package, would still go through our CI/CD pipeline that we saw earlier with all the above controls. Right, this is an important payload that's slightly distinct from the traditional CI/CD package pipelines. This is a quick snapshot of what you saw in the demo. We're putting it here in the slide so you can get a bird's eye view of all the different stages in the pipeline, starting from the asset management, the security Docker and Docker check, doing a template check, then going into the test where you do static security scanning, you do secret scanning, go into build, and finally you package it for publishing, and you deploy to a specific stage. And then you get into an automated sanity test where you can check for specific test scenarios, right? And finally gating, and then you're out there in production. We have at times deployed this sometimes multiple times a day, multiple times a week. We have the ability to push this much faster to production than many of the other application teams out there. With that, I want to just, before I end this presentation, I want to quickly cover some of the other platforms that I mentioned during our demo and our discussion. This is our log aggregation, monitoring, and vulnerability platform. It's based around the Elastic stack. Elastic is where we would get all our logs and log aggregation. Kibana is the UI that provides a user interface, more akin to Splunk. And this is connected to our Wazoo server, which uses all these logs, especially to look at vulnerability scanning and all the patching across this infrastructure. With this large scale, we had to automate this piece. Our infrastructure pipeline would push the agent modules and the agent daemons into that infrastructure that automatically pull them into our log aggregation and monitoring. It's, again, an innovative solution from Cprime that automatically allowed our large infrastructure to be monitored, both from a security standpoint and also from a real-time user monitoring standpoint. And this is just a high-level view of our infrastructure, which also includes disaster recovery, automated backup, real-time RAID replication across all the data pieces, etc. So that brings us towards our end. Mario, do you want to take it away?
You can see we've done a lot of things here. And I would be remiss to say that this was not done overnight. This was years, and it continues today to evolve, right? Across the teams at T-Mobile, our development team had to be adaptable, right? But we needed the support from our management to allow us the time to address these technical debt and efficiency solutions. We needed a partner with Cprime's hosting work to be adaptable and support these needs. I needed a partner in Vijay as the principal architect to even grasp onto these ideas and see the value of applying it to something others would consider a pretty mundane task of managing Jira. But the problems were all there that would face any engineering team. So through these tools, we've been able to standardize our processes, speed up through the automation, the entire pipeline. The developer wants to code, we allow them to code. We get out of their way, right? We've been able to do this for Jira and Jira service desks, respectively. Teams that use PowerScripts or Script Runner, no difference. We're able to maintain a highly distributed team solution across the globe for many, 300,000 people. We're able to work with our ops teams effectively. So when violations are identified from a white hat evaluation or a notice comes through from Atlassian, we know what to do. We have a process and we have a path to do it. We have the partners and the urgency to do it effectively, right? So how we do it is as important as what we are doing. And this has been overall a huge advancement for the T-Mobile team as they continue to do this and move towards the federal instances and individual branch instances. I'm very proud of it. So, thank you, Vijay, for a partnership on this, and to your management over the years and my partners at Cprime.
Thank you, everybody. And feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, you can reach us on our LinkedIn. There will be a booth for Cprime at Team 23. Look forward to answering any questions or helping you with your CI/CD automation needs.